We're in Munich today, and the purpose here is to start our journey at looking at the history of Germany and thinking about the collective responsibility that Germans and the rest of the world have in responding to the horrors of our past.
Both Germany and the United States have very difficult pasts. Today the focus is on Munich. Munich was a center of National Socialism. We are later going to go to the place where the headquarters of the National Socialist Party was, which is now a documentation center. And with a walking tour, we get an idea of how dominant the Nazis were in this part of the city.
They paved the old square. So they took away the grass and they paved with 22,000 granite stones, 1 meter per 1 meter, exactly the step of the soldiers. Now imagine the effect. This building was actually thought to be the administration building of the Nazi Party. After the war, the Americans, since the building was not destroyed, they used it to be the place of restitution of the art. It was like a collecting point. They put here all the art. And then you had officers from other countries coming and deciding which one is mine, and I take it home.
Well, I think what most astonished me today was on how many occasions the American colleagues here on this trip started to have looks and how this seemed so familiar on certain levels, and the fact, where is civil society, and did civil society in Germany, could they have reacted earlier to what was happening, and what were the things they missed. Tomorrow we'll basically spend all day in Dachau, and I'm really interested also in the reactions from the American colleagues. Anything that struck you particularly today?
So many things. It was a very emotional day today. What I found most interesting was listening to the staff who work at the memorial site and the discussions and the debates that they have about how important it is to be accurate to the memories of the survivors and the liberators, and this question of how critical memory can best be served, and what narratives are important to lift up.
What also struck me emotionally today, that 2 people in our group had relatives or family members that actually were in Dachau. And while the one had been there and had connected to them, the other one now will and might know more. Yeah. That's really touching both of us.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
So, Haley, on the Critical Memory Project visit to Dachau, you and I discovered quite an extraordinary and wonderful, in some ways, spiritual connection, where we learned that my grandfather and your great-grandfather were in the same block in the Dachau concentration camp prison site.
My great-grandfather opened the door to the house because he was waiting for a package, and he was taken away to the town square in his bathrobe with other Jewish men where they were beaten. And then they were taken to Dachau, where he was incarcerated in the same cell block as your grandfather. My great-uncle, who is still alive, was also taken to Dachau at a later point. They were released, I believe, after signing a paper saying they would leave Germany within 6 weeks and turn over their finances to the Nazi Party. Even though my great-grandfather and your grandfather were there at the same time, they had different fates.
Adolf Freund, my grandfather, was let go after about 5 or 6 weeks, sent to live in a Judenhaus because he'd been thrown out of the home where he had lived. And then in October of 1940 was arrested again and sent to Gurs prison camp, where he died around Christmas of 1940 from dysentery. Well, I felt his spirit. I don't believe in ghosts. Maybe there is a spirit world. I certainly could feel the suffering.
There's something about seeing a place that has such power in memory. For me, at least, being able to go there took away its power, some of it. My mom often talks about how places have echoes. And I feel it too, yeah.
Over the next 2 hours, I'm going to show you what is left of the former Nazi Party rally grounds. And we're going to walk from one of my fingers to the other.
Walking around Nuremberg, there was quite a sense of spaciousness. There were lakes, there were grand avenues, there were enormous buildings. All of that space and scope is really designed to make one feel small.
So people across the world that never make it to Europe, Germany or Nuremberg, they know this place, they've seen pictures of it, they've seen it in documentaries. That is the Zeppelin grandstand behind us, the Zeppelin field. And this is by far the most infamous building on the rally grounds.
Nuremberg was the site of the big party rallies, these very, very well orchestrated marches. So we got an idea of how that worked and the crazy giganticness of what was planned. And then we kind of fast forwarded to the side of the Allies and the victorious side, luckily, and how they dealt with the crimes in the Nuremberg war crime trials.
As someone who has studied international law, who spent quite a bit of time thinking about accountability for human rights violations, it was a place that actually gave me some comfort. It was recognizable, it's a courtroom, but it also raised a lot of questions. The purpose of a courtroom is to find and levy justice. What is accountability? Not just for the biggest leaders of the Nazi regime, but actually for the participants in the regime, the people who made the day-to-day decisions, the people who affected so many lives. So many of those people were not tried. So many of those people were tried and let go with very short sentences. And I wonder if the victims of the Third Reich found that the courtrooms in Nuremberg gave them justice.
We are here on the site from which the Nazis planned and managed most of their crimes. Today there is a documentation center called Topography of Terror. Our mission is to educate our visitors on Nazi crimes and also make them aware about current developments like the rise of right-wing extremists, the anti-democratic developments and the rise of anti-Semitism and racism.
Until the beginning of the 1980s, this was completely abandoned, even though this used to be the headquarters of the SS and of the Gestapo, the center of evil in Nazi dictatorship. This documentary center was only opened in 2010. So what is this? Yeah, it's 15 years. But this was actually, in some way, the starting point. It's also the starting point of our tour, but we will not remain here, but we will move.
There's a lot of historical distortion and a lot of disinformation, and that's the reason why we try to be places of the truth.
We are now standing under the so-called Haus der Flieger, the Ministry for Air Defense in Nazi Germany. And as a matter of fact, it was one of the first major Nazi architectures built in Nazi Germany, commissioned by Hermann Göring. He was actually the first one to complete a big new ministry here on Wilhelmstraße.
We see the developments in the United States, but also in Germany. We are afraid that Germany might turn in the future from a democracy to an authoritarian state. It's important that people see the dangers and that they vote for democratic parties.
This location offers a unique opportunity to engage with the themes you've explored during your conference. Tempelhof has long been a site of contested memory, from its use during the Nazi era to its devoted role in the Berlin airlift and its subsequent transformation. The history of Tempelhof Airport provides us with a unique backdrop to reflect on our collective responsibility in addressing the past.
Today was the last day of the Critical Memory Tour of Germany. My thoughts are many as we close out this week, but what I'm most excited about are the chances to tell stories that help us understand how we are connected to one another, and most importantly, stories that help us prepare for the future and the moment we're in when, in the United States, there are so many attacks on true history, on accurate history.
It's the last day, but for me, it's not like in a film, it's the end, it's to be continued. But I think it is to some degree the beginning of a friendship, of a cooperation, of thinking together, of fighting together. This is just the beginning of a hopefully joint road together to build and keep building critical memory in both countries.